It was as I turned the corner of the track to the right that I saw the cows for the first time. So I had no awareness they were there. I was encircled by them. I did feel as though I was in a very dangerous situation. These cows are going to charge me. My feet were off the ground. I was totally wedged in between the sides of two massive beasts, like crushed, literally crushed. I remember being dragged along the track, my head banging off the track. I can still feel the texture of this other one's tongue as it was licking my leg, licking the blood, and well, I actually thought, this is the end of my life. People don't survive these things. My name's Mary Jane Parker. I walk in the hills of Scotland frequently, and one day when I was in the Highlands hiking, I was set upon by a herd of cows, badly injured, and taken to hospital very promptly by air ambulance. I love being in nature. There's just something really soothing for the soul for me. I almost always have my little dog with me. She's a little cockapoo called Lola, and I just love watching her bouncing around and having fun, jumping around in the heather and playing in the burns, etc. So there's a lot to love about it for me. Munros are mountains over 3,000 feet in Scotland. At the moment there are 282 of them.
And how many Munros have you bagged?
127 so far. So my plan for the day was to do a horseshoe-shaped walk and climb 3 of the Mauna Lea Munros, Mauna Lea Mountains. And it's a recognised hiking route. You know, I wasn't in a farmer's field as such. You know, I was walking across an open access moorland area. I had camped in my camper van at the car park at the start of the walk the night before, so I was feeling all refreshed, raring to go. And it was a glorious morning. It was one of those mornings when it's rained a lot, everything feels really fresh and new. Visibility was perfect, no adverse weather conditions to contend with at all that day. I've encountered livestock before, often sheep. Sometimes they hiss and spit at you a little bit. When I've encountered cattle before, I'm always wary of them. I'll try and take an alternative route, walk confidently, not to run, to keep my dog on the lead so she's close in with me. If cattle are approaching you and they look threatening and you have a dog, the advice is to let your dog off the lead because the dog is likely to be able to outrun the cattle, whereas the human being is not likely to be able to outrun the cattle.
Just describe for us how you came upon the cows.
So I was walking along the track and there was a bit of a hillock on my right-hand side, and it was as I turned the corner of the track to the right that I saw the cows for the first time. So the hillock had been obscuring my vision, and they were maybe 10 metres or so away from me, spread across the track and both sides of the moorland. When I saw them, I thought I need to try and walk round them, but that was tricky because they were really spread out, but it clearly didn't work out, and within seconds I was encircled by them. I did feel as though I was in a very dangerous situation, yeah. I had tried waving my walking poles to get them to go back, but I don't think I was assertive enough with that. And then the moment came seconds, split second even later, when the cow that I could see its face closest to me It lowered its head towards the ground, and I thought, well, I actually thought, this is the end of my life. These cows are going to charge me. And then it stamped its hoof on the ground, and I thought, this is it. People don't survive these things. This is it for me. And that was a very, very terrifying moment.
You okay?
Yeah. So the dog broke out of her collar, so she ran away. The cow that started to charge towards me and another one that was behind me sandwiched me in between their sides. My feet were off the ground. I was totally wedged in between the sides of two massive beasts, like crushed, literally crushed. And they started to run down the track with me sandwiched in between them. I was shouting help. I don't know who I was shouting help to. And then they dropped me. I remember being dragged along the track. I think one of the cows must have had their leg through one of the straps of my rucksack, my head banging off the track. And then I remember one of the cows like kicking me, and I went up in the air, and then I fell back to the ground again, and then I remember them scuffling around me and kicking me. And then all of a sudden they seemed to lose interest. And at that point, I saw all this blood, and I noticed the big wound on my leg. All I could see from where I was lying was hooves and big faces and tails, and there was one of them right behind my head. I could feel its breath in my hair. There was another one that was behind me, and it was licking the blood that was coming out of the wound on my leg. I can still feel the texture of this other one's tongue as it was licking my leg, licking the blood, and they were bellowing all the time, and they never stopped making that noise. I don't think I remember everything about the attack, but those are the bits that I can remember. They weren't any specific breed of cow that I recognised anyway. A lot of people have asked me, were they Highland cows? No, they weren't Highland cows. They were, I think, beef cattle. I was very lucky that one strap of my rucksack was still attached, and the strap that was on my left shoulder had my Garmin device on it, which has an SOS function, and so I managed to call for help using that. There was something about knowing that I had called for help that helped me to stay calm and, well, I wasn't calm, but to stay with my breath, you know, while those minutes ticked past.
Who came to your assistance first?
So the first people to arrive were a couple, and I heard them starting to shout at the cows to move the cows away. I immediately felt really fearful again. The couple managed to move the cows away, and then I lifted my head once I thought there were no cows around me anymore, and they said, "You're alive." So I said, "Yes, I'm alive," but I said, "I think Lola must be dead." And the lady said, No, we've just seen Lola. We couldn't understand why she was back at the car park and you weren't around."
What do you remember, if anything, about the helicopter arriving and about the flight to Aberdeen?
The helicopter arrived when I was in the back of the road ambulance. So I remember hearing it arriving. And then the air ambulance crew took over from there. They were so reassuring. I felt safe. I did have a nagging doubt in my mind about whether I would lose the bottom half of my leg. But at that point, I wasn't even worried about that. I was just thinking, I'm going to be safe, I'm going to live. That was amazing to be able to think that.
And when you met the crew at the air ambulance base in Aberdeen, what was that like?
Really emotional for me, actually. Yeah. I owe so much to those people, you know, to the service, of course.
Hello. Hello. I told myself not to cry. Hello.
The human touch that they had was, I'm sure, way beyond the remit of their actual job descriptions.
A lot better than when you saw me anyway, that's for sure.
It's lovely to be able to show you around the helicopter today and have you here because it's not often we get patients coming back, so it's nice to complete the circle.
Thank you.
Without the professionalism and the humanity of the staff of the Scotland's Charity Air Ambulance, I think I would have been in a much worse state.
Every part of your body had some form of graze, bruise, cut.
Every part.
Every limb, everywhere.
So they took a graft from my thigh to graft onto my calf. The human touch was just palpable to me on that, probably the worst day of my life.
Will it ever get back to normal for you? Will you be able to embrace the great outdoors again?
I don't think it'll ever go back to how it was, because what happened can't unhappen. So it can move forward in a bit of a different direction, and I am getting my confidence back out on the hills again. I don't feel like I can let it stop me from getting the benefits of the great outdoors.